Ko waira, ko toi tangata, toi ora te hine ngaro, toi ora te kai, toi ora te tinana, ka puta te iwi, ki te whai au, ki te ao, marama he ahara, he ahara, he kokiri kaupapa, he mātauranga tuku iho, he whakapiki, i te iwi, kia tipu kia ora, kia toi tangata e, ko te pae, tawhiti, whoia kia tata, ko te pae tata, whakamaua kia tina, tangata tū, tangata ora, kua tau, hei!
To the how, io, to remember that we carry within us the intelligence, the resilience, and ancestral memory of those who came before us. The understanding that te kore as the realm of infinite potential that reminds us that the future is not something we wait for, it is something we consciously create. As I listened, I couldn't help but think about our tamariki, our mokopuna, because perhaps one of the first places we experience te kore is the realm of possibility, is through tākaro. Tākaro is where tamariki test the boundaries of their world. Tākaro is where courage is discovered. Tākaro is where resilience is built. Tākaro is where identity emerges. So our next speaker understands this deeply. She is a steadfast wahine Māori, a little bit tutu, endless creative, and someone who is passionate about creating spaces where tamariki can be exactly who they are. Whether she is facilitating kura waka karanga wānanga, exploring the stories and sounds of taonga puoro, creating taonga from pounamu and hue, or weaving pūrākau e mātauranga Māori through tākaro, she reminds us that learning does not always come through instruction. It often emerges through experience. A māmā of 6 tamariki and an experienced kaiako with more than 20 years in the early childhood sector, Hiraani Hutana has dedicated her life to advocating for tamariki to have the time, the space, the freedom and trust to discover their own strengths and capabilities. Today, her kaupapa matua Risky Ruaumoko, encouraging the Ruaumoko within us through Risky Tākaro. She challenges us to consider what happens when we stop trying to control every outcome and instead create the conditions for tamariki to explore, for tamariki to test themselves, to navigate uncertainty and to grow. Because if wisdom is lived, not learnt, then perhaps one of the greatest gifts we can give our tamariki is the freedom to experience it for themselves. E te whānau, nau mai, whakatau mai, ki te tuahine Hiraani Hutana.
Tēnā koutou te whānau. I'm just going to share my PowerPoint first. Let my boy introduce himself. Ka pai. Pai te whānau. Tēnā koutou te whānau. Ko whiawhio ana te kārerea o tamatia pokai whenua pokai moana. Hea atu tiki nā wai o te ara moana o te waipainamu. Ko te akau o Waipiro, te akau o Tokomaru e ngunguru nei. Ko Hiraani Hutana hau. Just that little clip there, I had my son Aritaku playing, doing Ruaumoko Haka as an intro. And I'm going to play many of his, some clips of him as like a case study. So he's turning 9 this year, and I've found that a lot of my my learnings and teachings from him in embedding and building in whakaro where I let Ruaumoko live and exist within our whānau in a positive way. So I he kākoa hau, engari he māmā tātahi a hau. yes, what Crystal said, I've been working in the kohungahunga space for over 20 years, and a big pivotal part of that space was working in a kohungahunga where I was able to create atua spaces in our environment. And so we did papata nuku, big mud pit. Obviously had henia huone, sand pit. Did a big tangaro space where we just loaded it with shells and water. Tāne mahuta, big natural forest space with native plants. Mahuika lived there with our ahi that we regularly lit every morning at our kohungahunga. And Ruaimoko existed for me, creating a space where tamariki could be the Ruaimoko positively. So it was lived, breathed, and there was a knowing amongst my staff that they could take risks, and many risks. I didn't quite get my my flying fox, but kei te whaitira. Cool. I'll head back to the slides. Hopefully it can, we can play. Tai hoa ake, te whānau. I'll just share again. Can you see that? It's whānau, Cole. Still can't?
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So from this kōrero, by the end of my kōrero, I want you to question yourself. And I want you to question and ask yourself things like, is your environment designed to control or challenge tamariki? And if you're someone that's, says, when you say it's too dangerous or kia tūpato, is it actually dangerous, or is it just uncomfortable to watch as a kaiako, as the ero or the papa māmā? I want you to think about, are you teaching or interrupting? It's a big thing for Ruaimoko, Ruaimoko existing within the tamaiti. And how many times a day do you say, kia tūpato, be careful, without even thinking? And I know I fall into that trap. And how can children regulate fear if we never let them? So just something to think about, e te whānau. This pikitia here is of Arisaku using a real saw in the cold outside, and he is the age of 2. Does this pikitia trigger you? If you want to pop on the chat, if it's a positive trigger, ihi ihi, or one that triggers like he might get hurt, chuck it on the chat. Also, chuck on the chat how you have arrived to this kōrero, seeing the title Risky Ruaimoko. I'm quite interactive in presentation, so I like to see, and maybe Crystal can call out a couple of those kōrero. Okay, I'm going to carry on. So a big part of knowing about Ruaimoko and advocating for Ruaimoko is to know the pūrākau of Ruaimoko, te riri o Ruaimoko. I'm going to read a script out. So I've been part of going to Mahia Atua Wānanga. So, and many of you probably have. They're run by Papa Mark and Koka Whaetai. So I just wanted to acknowledge them at this time. There's varied pūrākau. Oh, good bye, sis.
Sorry, sis. Is there a possibility that you can get rid of that beautiful lady that's in the bottom right of your screen?
What beautiful lady? You.
Oh, yeah. So there's a app. There's a Zoom app square. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Yeah, if you just X her out because she's taking over the show. If you can just give her the ding dong, move along, that would be great, and then everyone can see your presentation. Yeah, there we go. Kia ora.
Oh, karoha sis. Yeah, so just wanting to just go back to acknowledging Mahia Atua. There are wānanga space that teach Atua kōrero, teach pūrākau, beautiful wānanga that I've been able to go to. They shares a book, Papa Mike and Whaitai have a book out there with all the pūrākau case studies. And yeah, I wānanga with a lot of pūrākau, and I resonate with Papa Mark's mahi. You can buy these pūrākau online and to listen to them and have them and wānanga them for several months. So if you're into pūrākau, yeah, I think you should definitely look into the Mahia Atua space. So I'm just going to read a script of, like, lightly, of Ruau Moko. And I'll just have my face up though. But I'm just going to give you 2 minutes. I want you to get a paper, some pens or a pen. And as I read the pūrākau of Ruau Moko, I want you to draw the pūrākau. Ka pai tērā? I'll have to stop sharing so I can read off the script. But this painting here is from Mahia Atua. And you can obviously see all the atua that are part of the story. And then I've got some of the names down here. So yeah, as I read the script, I want you to draw the atua in the story, and also start to write down some of the names of the atua that you will hear. Ka pai tērā? You'll need to do this because we'll break out into a breakout room so that you can share with your partner. Ka pai. I'm just going to stop sharing. Cool. Ka pai tērā? Sweet. Has everyone got their papers? Yeah. And a pen? Ready to go? Cool. Give me a love if you have, so I know I can go. Choice. Ka pai. So this story takes place before the separation, the wehenga of Ranginui and Papatuanuku. And so before the separation of Ranginui and Papatuanuku, the second youngest sibling, Atua, Paia Te Rangi, called the tuakana into attention, right? So I wanted to have a hui because he was worried about what will happen to Ruau Moko, because Ruau Moko was still within Papatuanuku and relied on her for survival, being the youngest. Ka pai tērā? So he wanted to know, what are we going to do with Ruau Moko in the separation to make sure that he still exists and lives. So they made a decision, being the tuakana, and the decision was made for Ruau Moko that he would remain with Papatuanuku. Part of that decision was, though, that the tuakana will gift Ruau Moko a gift of warmth, and this gift of warmth is called Te Ahi Kōmau. Te Ahi Kōmau, an offering from the older siblings to warm Ruau Moko while being with Papatuanuku, and just a genuine intent, so good intent from our tuakana, like our tuakana do, eh? So I got like 5 of them, and they do things for me in good intent that I don't always want. Okay, so Paia Te Rangi was given the task to go to Ranginui and get this ahi kōmau. So they were 2 fire sticks. There was the kaunoti part of the fire stick was called Te Rangi Ti Ramarama. So you always should have drawn Papa, Ruau Moko, Ranginui, maybe even Ranginui's neck. And now you want to be drawing 2 fire sticks. Ka pai tērā? So, or a fire stick. So yeah, the kaunoti of the fire stick was called Te Rangi Ti Ramarama. And the hika part of the fire stick was called Torotoro Ihi. Nā Papa Mark tēnei kōrero. So Paia Te Rangi, tono tū Ranginui, can we borrow these te ahi kōmau to give to Ruau Moko, which he did. Ka pai tērā? So Paia Te Rangi tono tū Ranginui, can we borrow these te ahi kōmau to give to Ruau Moko, which he did. Ka pai tērā? So Paia Te Rangi tono tū Ranginui, can we borrow these te ahi kōmau to give to Ruau Moko, which he did. Ka pai. So the thing with the tiahi kōmau is a potential fire. So it can be starved with oxygen, but as soon as it's fed oxygen, it lights up, right? So that's the type of fire that this ahi kōmau was. The ahi kōmau was placed with ruaumoko, and then the separation begins after that. Ka pai. So the kōrero was that tāne would flood the light with more light. That was the kōrero. And then te ao marama, ne? Te ao marama, everything's all good. But that wasn't necessarily the case. Te ao marama didn't happen straight after the separation. Actually, if anything, there was immense tangi, water and flooding from Ranginui's tears onto Papatūānuku, that pauritanga. So if anything, we could just imagine a space of grief and separation and an overwhelming thought of, was this right to do this? Ka pai. So lots of emotions in that time of pauritanga. Tangaroa, in part of that mahi. Sorry, I'll go back. So in there, ruaumoko can no longer hear his siblings, and he's feeling all this emotion, and he feels lonely, and that loneliness starts to become sad. So he starts to feel quite sad. And that sadness turns into fear, and that fear turns into rage. So there's a reaction that happens. So so between the flooding and ruaumoko not being quite sure, tangaroa, kiwa, and another atua called Heke Tanga Wainui is in the story. So I hope you've got heaps of tangi notes, wai notes, maybe some, I don't know, cross notes to represent your pūrākau. So tangaroa, being the poutiria of water and control of water, comes along, and as this unfolds, so did the realization again of ruaumoko and the predicament that he was in. So anei, so the riri of ruaumoko is born within this time of space of being left alone, separation, in sensing something has happened outside of Papatūānuku into Papatūānuku. So I just want to do a check-in. How's everybody's pikitia doing? Do we need a recap? What atua have I said? Put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's Heke Tanga Wainui personified as?
Heke Tanga Wainui is personified as the flooding of Ranginui's tears. Ka pai te whānau. Any other pātai? No? Ka pai. I'll carry on, eh? So, sorry, this is Laites. If you go and buy the Pūrākau Mahi Atua, you'll get the full version from Papa Mike, which is way more better. So from that, ruaumoko starts to get enraged. And so the warmth that he's given, the ahi kōmau that he's given, he weaponizes it. Ka pai te whānau. So I don't know what you want to represent that as, and karu te whenua. Karu te whenua. So what is the ru? If karu te whenua is earthquakes. Ka pai te rā. That weapon morphs into active lava, which is called te ahi tapu, and it becomes explosive art. And so that second part of his name, te au. Ka pai, ka au, ka ru te whenua, ka au te whenua hoki. The ground shakes and volcanic eruptions erupt. They erupt and scarification happens on Papatuanuku. And then from that, ka moko. So moko becoming the scarification. So he goes from being lonely, sad, hurt, abandoned, and then rage. And unintentional hurt and scarification on Papatuanuku from Ruai Moko. And I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop the script there. And I'll share my screen again. And sis, we'll just get ready to put them in pairs soon. Ka pai tira e te whānau. Everyone has ru, ihi, and urges. The built-up ihi of the tamaiti of your Ruai Moko that needs to erupt. The ru, the urge to take risks, isn't a problem. It's how we are wired as humans. So I've taken a different take now. So we have that pūrākau. We talk about that ru of those emotions. But I want you to start thinking about that ru as an urge. That Ruai Moko needs to get out. But a positive ihi urge. Ka pai tira? A positive ihi urge that we're innately wired with. E te whānau. And then we've got the Awheawhe. In the o is the wehi. Te hā te o, ki a koe. Again, this is the action part. This is the part where the tamaiti is letting out that ru. You know, is in a beautiful flight. I don't know if you can see these video. Ka pai. So moko, not necessarily about scarification. Moko is the wana. Moko, the imprint. Moko, the imprint of learning that has taken place. So this is how I see Ruai Moko. The risky Ruai Moko in and of itself a positive atua. So you partner Ruai Moko with Papatuanuku, like that nature and nurture kōrero that's out there. So kia nei ka moko mai te intelligence. I'm just going to stop sharing. So sis, if we can grab them into breakout rooms, just going to go into a great breakout room for what, maybe 5 minutes. In pairs, you'll share your pikitia. And then I want you just to discuss about when's the time you've had ru, like a tino ru, could be in your tamariki tanga, or even now as a pakeke. And the o, what does o look like for you these days? And what do you think that imprint moko learning is for you? So yeah, just want you to interact with in pairs, and we'll do 5 minutes, eh? And then when you come back, Crystal might share and see if we can get some kōrero from the ropu. Ka pai tira? Ka pai. Enjoy. So let's Ruai Moko. So here's some things that you want to be mindful when letting Ruai Moko have his o and imprints. So like speed and chase. Kia tira, kia koe. So that thrill of feeling like they're going wild. Yeah, it's a thrilling feeling. Like when you run and you're winning the race. It's that feeling like you're in flight, and it's freedom. Freedom is in that speed mahi. Even if you think, oh, you're going too fast. Nah, let Ruai Moko chase speed. Higher, climbing high, maunga. So, you know, even as toddlers, that maunga could just look like a little bump for us, but they're feeling like they're high. So, you know, climbing high, you've got this power, you're taking a risk, and there's an imprint of learning that's taking place, that you're feeling anxiety, but you're overcoming that fear and anxiety. So again, let ruau moko. Don't be the tuakana that shuts that down. Actually provide opportunities for them to climb high, especially if you're a kaiako. Rough and tumble, obviously I'm an advocate for this. And like I see actually many kohungahunga and kohanga put in place that sock game, where they the goal is to take the opponent's sock off. And in that, there's all these decisions that the tamaiti has to make while in flight, while rough and tumbling, and there's the losing and winning and winning and losing and power and struggle and practice and friendship. Friendship forms in this if it's regularly available. Let them out in the elements. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. Let them have conversations with the atua. Let them jump in the mud. There's nothing more sad to me is when tamariki are stuck in classrooms for hours on day, and then there's that periodic let out just in PE or in playtime recess. So yeah, let them have those conversations with the atua, and let them get to know the atua, and that's just being in the elements and outdoors. Real tools. I mean, my boys have been using real tools at the age of 1.5, to be honest. Like definitely at the age of 2, and I'm talking power tools. And I'm there and I'm guiding, but they get to press the button and they get to try and I think you might see one in one of my videos that are coming up. So real tools, real work, kōrero, and that hide and get lost, like they're being adventurous, even if they're feeling like they're being sneaky, there's a thrill in that mahi. So these are just some ideas, and they've got a lot to do with tākaro. Kapai. Can you see this? Just pop in, Chris. Just if you can see this. So this is aritaku. And yeah, I think he's not quite 2 then. And he's using a hammer. And he's got no clothes on, and he's not even got any footwear on. Yeah, and there's chip wood there. So I want you to break in pairs again and use this like a case study. So I want you to identify the ru and the o and the moko in this clipper. And I want you to see what's the triggering. I want you to voice the triggering feelings of seeing aritaku in this video. I'll play it again, but Crystal can let me know if it doesn't play. Oh, he hits himself. And creativity. Kapai. Kapai te whānau. And shares. Oh, actually, before there's a shares, I just want to let you know. So, that video, I got in trouble. I got in trouble from that video. So it was raised in Hui, aritaku. So, you know, I'm the kāko as well as the māmā. He's in my kōhungahunga. It took place in my kōhungahunga. He wasn't wearing shoes, Hiraani, or sunscreen. He wasn't under the shade. There was chipwood. He hit his hands. You know, but what did you hear in that video? He toi whakaero, he mana tangata aritaku. You know, all I could see was the imprints of learning for my tamaiti. And so there's all that safety measures that we have to consider, risk assessment, kapai. But I'm someone that will push the limit. I'll push the limit for imprint. I'll push the limit for that moko and moko puna katoa. So I'll push it so that there'll be a chance to redesign, co-design with a Māori whakaaro. So any shares? We'll just have one, eh? I think our time will be coming up. Any triggers? Any ahihis out there?
I have a trigger.
Your choice, love it.
So like my trigger is not necessarily the child. Like I can see that he's playing. I think he looks really happy and content. My trigger, I guess, is like, don't break the tools, or like you're wasting that kind of, you know, like I could get this done so much quickly, you know, quicker than you, like that whole kind of egocentric. For me as a mum, like, yeah, like you're gonna break the tool, which costs money, which is, you know, like a whole kind of influx of other things. But overall, like that was my trigger. But he's content and happy, and you know, he's educating himself. And if he hurts himself, oh, ka pai. He either learn from it or do it again, eh?
Yeah. I love that you said that. You're just being, it's just the tuakana in us. It's just the tuakana in us saying, oh, you know, momo. And yeah, we just have to acknowledge that. But if we have this whakaaro of hei ru, hei au, and te rā moko, you know, imprint, we might allow a few things to get broken. Te rapia. Anything else, Sos? I think it's wāpatai after that, and then I just thought I'd do one more thing before I let go. But you, anything, Crystal?
From me?
Yeah, or anybody? I think it's wāpatai, and then after wāpatai, I just wanted to do like a quick writing share, but not into break rooms.
So before we do wrap up into this, into the next or the final phase of this particular workshop, is there any, many of you may be working in spaces of tākaro or spaces with tamariki, or even spaces in the social sector with whānau, is there any pātai out there that you would like to ask Hiraani on this particular kaupapa, understanding that this kōrero actually is hugely connected to the kōrero that we heard earlier on today, and a lot of it is around how we, around that emotional intelligence and how we actually control when we are put in a particular situation, or how we regulate those emotions before we react. So if there's any pātai, I'll leave this for 5 seconds, and feel free to ask any pātai, or even just to share any experiences on this particular kaupapa, and then we will move to the next phase, or to the last phase of this workshop.
Well, while we're waiting, and so because Kylie knows, she's a principal there at a school that I worked at, I put a couple of swings inside my classroom as the new entrance. Hei ruau moko. So I had a few tamariki in there, all of them ruau moko to me. So actual hammock swings, so that they could feel, you know, if they jumped in there, so the ruru came out, and they were just like, oh, so they jump in there in that swing to feel movement. Pira i te wai. Hei au, because they couldn't go outside. That was the rule. I wasn't outside. There was no teachers outside. And then the moko imprint was that they were still learning, you know, through osmosis in the ahuru moai papatuanuku classroom. But I had available where their ruau moko was acknowledged and exist. And yeah, so I'm like a big advocate for like real swings in the classroom, but don't let the adults, other teachers, sit in those hammocks and break them. Anyway, pātai mai is whānau.
Papai, oh, well, I'm that auntie, so we're going to ding dong move along.
Yeah.
Kei a koe sis.
Okay. I use, just quickly before I do the last slide, I use, oh yeah, get a paper out and a pen. You're not drawing a picture. And this is just like just a writing. So we call it, some of you may know, a tuhi wairua writing. So I'm going to give you a lead-in sentence, and you're just going to write for a minute without the pen coming off the paper. You're just going to write whatever's downloading that aligns to the lead-in sentence kapai. So we can just, like, without you thinking, you can just get some thoughts down. So I can see some of you that are not getting papers, so no. So yeah, get a pen and paper out, and let's do this mahi just to wrap up. And then I will get 3 shares. People will read what they've written. Kapai. What have I got? Cool. Ruaimoko is me. ... Ruaimoko is me. ... Ruaimoko is me. I'm just going to wrap up this last sentence. And actually, because I can see some of you, I'm just going to call out. So when you read back, you just read what you wrote. Kapai? Just read what you wrote. Let's hear from, Vicky. Vicky Awheawhe, Totoro. Could you share what you wrote?
Tēnā tātou, you said Ruamuku was me, and I went, Aira. Unleash potential, hidden strength, potential of knowing, awaiting the time to be released. And then I just went back and traced over what you'd said before, redesign, co-design, and I added withdrew.
Yeah, woohoo, love it. Man. What about that fella next to you? Te rā tāne.
Hey, kia ora.
Give us a share, bro.
I came in pretty late, but I was like action and thrills, like arising to the challenge. And I was thinking, like dedicated on the surf, we had real big waves here the other day. I was like, paddle, 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 pop up. And like, it was really intense, like one sort of point of attention focus, like positive action, I thought. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Ka whai hoa. What about Megan? Can you read what you wrote, Ewa? Megan?
Kia ora. Romako is me, driven by an urge to keep moving, always drawn back to nature, raw earth, where I feel most alive and at home. Papa tuanuku.
Yeah, ka whai te rā. And our last one is that te aho mai, Ewa. Ituhi koe?
Ai, ora.
Te.
Ruaimoko is me, Ruaimoko is disruptive, Ruaimoko is pure, Ruaimoko is genuine.
Te. Nā mihi nui e te whānau. The last slide I had, but I won't go to it because it takes too long, was of Aritaku doing all these moves, these Mōrākau moves. I've just really scratched the surface for you with this kōrero, but I wanted to end with this whakatauki or kōrero from Auntie Rose Piri, and she says, our children come in and are born. They're born with the insight. All we have to do is love them and let them continue to be their true self. Ka pai? So all we have to do is love, like Papa. All we have to do is let them be their true selves, which is ruaumoko, te whānau. So koina tāku tēnei wā. Kia pai o koutou rā. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Wow. Fire Rose has been mentioned quite a lot, and I think that just goes back to some of the kōrero that was shared earlier, that divine essence, that thought process, kore te pō, te ao. Nō reira, e te whānau, as we bring this kōrero to a close, perhaps we leave with a simple question like, is our environment designed to teach, or is it designed to control, right? You know, there's a lot of different whānau in here that work in different spaces, or, you know, have a lot of different whānau environments. So as kaiako, matua and caregivers, it can be uncomfortable to simply watch. How often do we say kia tūpato, or in our efforts to keep our tamariki safe, are we teaching them how to navigate challenge, uncertainty and risk, or are we interrupting the very experience that help us to learn? So today we were kind of reminded that wisdom is lived. It's not learnt. It comes from an experience. And Hiraani invited us into this realm, this beautiful realm of ruaumoko, not simply as destruction, but as that stirring energy that lives within us all. And we heard the pūrākau around the loneliness, the frustration, the curiosity, the courage, and the longing that actually demands expression, you know, that room, that shaking within. And so perhaps ruaumoko is not asking to be controlled, but perhaps ruaumoko is actually asking to be understood and regulated. So, you know, some of the kōrero that happened, we reflected on our own experiences of suppressing parts of ourselves, and the power of movement, voice, creativity, and connection to release what has been held. And that's almost like the kōrero we heard earlier on with the keynotes to tuku kia io. So we also heard moko described not only as a mark upon the skin, but as an imprint left behind by the experience. So every climb, every fall, every challenge, every act of courage leaves that imprint or that moko of learning. So maybe that's our challenge, not to remove any obstacles, not to prevent every feeling, but to create environments where tamariki can encounter themselves, to discover their own strengths, and trust that tipuna intelligence within them. And I did hear a beautiful kōrero that kind of links to this, is that and it was a kōrero that was shared with our keynote around the repair and to reinvigorate our tipuna, because our tipuna heal over time, that it doesn't exist in a way we experience in a linear way. So that's something to think about, that, you know, our tamariki, or we even ourselves, are the living expression of our tipuna, and we heal over time. So it kind of wraps up that kōrero in terms of Hiraani's kaupapa, ko au, ko te ao, ko au. Nō reira, e te tuahine, kore te aroha e mimiti, miharo rawa atu ngā kōrero I tuku mai ki a mātou, a tēnei ka mihi atu ki a koe, Mauri ora e te whānau.
Mauri ora e te whānau.